Um, I have to say it took a lot of convincing from anyone who talked to you to return to football, Coach Mike. And it looked like the saying, as the saying goes, East or West, home is best. In 2015, you appointed you alongside Sam Simba to actually manage the club on a 3-year contract, KCCA FC, I mean. How easy was it for you to not to think hard about this and you coming to KCCA again?
My boyhood club played for it. The convincing was by my friends, Oduni Subuga and the late Chambad, David and Muau and Chibazo, because they knew that if there is anything that can be fixed, not only at KCC, but in Ugandan football, it had to be me. There was nobody else because all the all the coaches I had worked with, had been around, but they had failed to do the right things.
Yes.
So when they talked to me, I thought about it, and I categorically told the powers that were going to give me this job that this is what I expect personally. This is what I expect. If this ABCD is put in place, then we can work together. Fortunately, we were dealing with people who were honest, people who were not polluted with the anarchy that had surrounded the game in Mr. Julius Kabugo and, of course, Jennifer Mosesi, you see. And the things that I put together were absolutely showing the corporate outlook which would align with KCCA
Yes.
as an institution. Okay, so with that, I said, yeah, let me come back. Let me also bring Simba with me because I had worked with these people.
Yes.
So I said, let's work with Sam Simba and see where we can take the club. And the rest is history. You know what happened.
Yes, absolutely. Like you've highlighted that you came in with Sam Simba to make sure that this club is taken to greater heights. There's a lot that has happened since 2015, and we're going to get into that. But for starters, some of the reasons that you told the powers that be included you running your own module at the club, and that included probably a system where we would see very young players come through the ranks at the club and actually become very very important players to the club at a very young age. Coach Mike Mutebi, how have you been able to perfect that module? How have you been able to churn out young players year in year out, and they've actually ruled Ugandan football?
Yeah, consistency. The clubs here were not run well. There was a lot of
Amateur way of running.
speculation. They did not have a plan. So I came up with a plan, which is best practice. Say, if we are going to do ABCD to remedy all the problems that have surrounded the game for so long, this is what we must do. And we must do this thing with fresh minds, with young players who are not yet polluted, and, they accepted. And have managed to do that. Why? Because everything I do, the first thing I do is to be honest with the people and be fair and stick to the right thing, especially if it doesn't hurt anybody. I will always die by my ideas because I know they don't hurt anybody. But in so doing, I must be very honest with the people I work with, as well as being fair to them. And that's it.
You bring out the honest part, and this is when I really have to ask you. You have churned out so many young players. Currently, we have people like Sadata Naku, Allan Okello, Mustafa Kiza. I can go on and on and on and on. Is there a particular young lad that you point at and say, this exemplifies, like you usually say, the kind of player I've always wanted to bring out?
All of them, all of them. We've nurtured them well. Like I said, we started with these kids at the formative stage, 14 years, and we had to put the things we believe that were missing then into them, being honest to them, showing them that this is their life, football, but if you are going to be a top class professional footballer, these are the things you must do, and these are the things you don't do. So it became easy for them. So when they come to play, first of all, they know we have been handled by honest people, and they play.
Yes.
Okay, and on the pitch, because they have been nurtured well, the things they do on the pitch exemplify a mature person, despite their being young.
Yes.
But all that because of the proper nurturing.
All right, you've been on record to speak that so many Ugandan players, fortunately, you've actually groomed most of them, have actually failed to do their job as regards to, playing football, concentrating and chasing a dream of what they've really wanted. Coach Mike, I'll just bring you here because recently KCCA FC brought back Simon Serunkuma. They also have, Edisa Keith Sechisambu. These are some of the players you are with at the different clubs you are at, and some of them you've seen, some of them you are, you're proud of them, of where they've come from. Would someone be wrong out there to say Coach Mike is shooting himself in the foot by bringing back, players who have passed their prime? He should have been giving opportunity to other new players. What's your take on that?
No, they have not passed their prime. 30 years, the average age of all those players. These are players who promise so much, but like I said, the environment that they operated in did not favor them. And I had a responsibility to see that, these players who promise so much, let me give them a chance, handle them again, and try to tell them the right things. And they did respond. So there was nothing. Because those are the players who are supposed to be playing in the national team, that generation. Mike Mutiaba, Serisa Sekisambu, Simon Serunkuma. But the problem is their growth, the environment, when they got ushered into the game, the people who handled them were not honest with them. They were confused. So we had to do something. I say that as a coach, but I was doing it as a human being to help.
As a parent as well?
Yes. So that's why I brought them back. These Serunkumas, because at one time they had this promise, like the Allan Okellos. But for them, they were unfortunate that when some of us left, the people who handled them did not handle them well, and they confused them, and eventually they went off track. So as a football man, I had the responsibility to say, let me check them again. Let me check the Kaizis again. Let me check all these other players who were very talented, but as young, yeah. So that's it.
All right, Coach, it's been 5 years at KCCA FC, and I just have to remind you that I know you know some of these achievements. You've been named Coach of the Year, you've won the league thrice here at your time at KCCA, the domestic cup twice, and I think the biggest of all is actually taking the club to the group stages of continental football, the Confederations Cup and Champions League. I know there's been tremendous rise as regards to the club's progress there. But I really have to know, Coach, of all those achievements that you've done, what's there more for you as Coach Mike Mutebi? What do you still have an ambition in going forward in your career as a football coach, and what's that?
Yeah, the most important thing is to develop people, not just footballers. I think my biggest achievement in football is that when I look around and say, I helped so and so to become
Who they are.
who they are, that for me is even more than winning trophies. Because the trophies, yes, they'll go away, but these people will still live around. So for me, that is my biggest achievement, and that's what I want to do. Besides winning these trophies, but preparing people to be good citizens of this country, to look to be like role models for others to copy, especially the new generation that is coming through, and also to earn respect. Most of us who are in football fail to earn respect because of the way we have conducted ourselves. So everybody takes us for granted, like also runs, which is not true.
Yes.
So for me, that is my main aim. And when I came into football, that was my aim, to change the image of how football people are rendered or are perceived, that, failures, that you go to play football because you failed elsewhere. No, some of us didn't fail. Some of us, it was a passion, it was a skill. Go through proper education system. We are educated people. So we had to bring that corporate outlook to football, which then was difficult. But now the world has become exposed, so it's visible.
All right, as we conclude this interview, Coach Mike Mutebi, I would like to ask you, if Coach Mike Mutebi left KCCA FC, and the keyword here is if, would he be able to manage any other team in Uganda?
I don't know. If I still have the fire and and the passion, I could. I could.
And so does that communicate that you're still at KCCA for quite a while? Is this a Sir Alex Ferguson kind of experience?
No, as long as I am doing things right and my employers think are doing things right, okay,
Yes.
they will keep him. They will keep me in. But if I feel I'm exhausted, then I can always leave.
There's been a question of, you've played against Sundowns and all the big clubs on the African continent. Aren't there offers that have come your way, Coach Mike?
They have many of them, starting with the Gusto, you know, but it came early, and like I had promised the employers,
Yes.
that is a project. But because things became very fast, the achievements became very fast, there was bound to be excitement that I go somewhere else.
Yes.
That, in my opinion, the project had not yet
Developed.
developed. So I turned those offers because it was not money, about money. It was about changing the image of how football should be run, how a proper football club should be run, and that's what keeps me here up to date.
All right. I'm going to put you to task to tell me, you've really coached so many players in Ugandan football. Give me your top 5 talents, Coach Mike Mutebi. Players you stand out and say, player A, B, C, D. Top 5.
Allan Okello, Jackson Mayanja, David Obua, Ibrahim Sekajja,
Allan Okello, Jackson Mayanja, David Obua, Ibrahim Sekaja. One more name, Coach Mike.
I'll stop at that.
Coach Mike has decided to give us his top 4. As I let you go, Coach Mike, because of your busy schedule, when Coach Mike retires, finally, he's done with everything. Do we have an academy coming up? Do we have a consultancy firm coming up from Mike Ray Mutebi?
Probably yes, yeah. To start an academy is not a walk in the park. First of all, you must accumulate human resource. The coaches, the technical people who are going to teach, not to coach these kids. So as long as I'm still around and building a critical mass in as far as human resource, is concerned. That is, the coach is, maybe in future, with my people, we can start an academy.
The KCCA fans will kill me for leaving this set without asking you your targets for this season, because it's already started.
Yeah, we should defend the league. Also try to win the Uganda Cup and go into the group stages of the Champions League. Okay, those are our targets.
Any new players coming in on the continent, Pitchside would have the privilege to have the breaking news here.
We've signed a new Nigerian from River State. Amongst the people we played with, all these clubs, we were always looking at a center forward. For all these clubs we played against, TP Mazembe had this very good Maringo, but we could not afford them. This one, we could afford him. Yes. He's good, and we could afford him. That's why we brought him in.
Coach Mike, thank you very much for joining me on Pitchside. I really appreciate it. You're a very busy man, but you take time and drop by. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Those of you who have been watching us, we appreciate all the support. Like we keep saying, all you have to do is go onto YouTube, look for Pitchside with Tabo Peter, subscribe. You'll be able to get all this exclusive information. I'll have to say cheers live here at the StarTimes Stadium in Lugogo.